Happy Monday. We are in Colossians chapter 3. We have been thinking about life and eternity and death, and we're going to finish this chapter this week. And so let me read the first 4 verses out of Colossians chapter 3. If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. So one of the classic stories that is told about thinking about your legacy is told about Alfred Nobel, who is the guy who endowed the Nobel Prizes, in particular the Nobel Peace Prize. If you know anything about him, you might remember that he was an inventor. In particular, he was a chemist. And more specific yet, he invented dynamite, which made him a lot of money because governments paid for it for bombs. Well, one of the interesting things about Alfred Nobel's life is that he had the opportunity that most of us do not get. He got to read his obituary. His older brother passed away. Somebody thinking that it was him wrote up and ran an obituary about Alfred Nobel. And when he read it, what was obvious to him is that he was going to be remembered as a guy who invented the way that lots of people killed lots of other people. And that is not what he wanted to be remembered for. So he decides to endow this set of prizes that is going to be given to people who are helping people. And that's where we get the Nobel Prizes. So I think Colossians 3 suggests that we ought to think about our obituary, not in a vain effort to be remembered well. That's not what's significant here. But because we are going to live forever, and we actually do want to live a life that brings glory to God and helps other people and that is pleasing to our Father. I'm just about to finish up this long historical fiction trilogy I've been reading about Cicero. It's now mostly a little bit more about Caesar, Julius Caesar. And one of the things that's happening is that Cicero, who was this orator, politician, philosopher, wrote some books that are significant. Cicero's life ends poorly, and he is just traumatized at the end of his life that his legacy is not going to be what he had hoped that it was. Well, I want to say, look, how people remember us 15 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, is simply not that important. Perhaps in an honor culture, it would have been more important. We live a little bit more in a humility culture, although, that you got to tell some people that. Look, to have this kind of a mindset, to live in light of eternity as we're being called to set our hearts ahead, to set our minds ahead, requires that we're going to live by faith, and it requires that we're going to live proactively, because there's not a lot in our present culture that is encouraging us to think about forever. So I don't want to be the guy like the kid in the back of the grade school classroom when the teacher walks out of the room and the class erupts and erasers are being thrown and people are reading comic books and passing notes. I don't want to be the kid that says, you need to sit down, the teacher's going to come back. Trust me, I was throwing my share of erasers and reading my share of comic books. But I do think it is incumbent upon us as we look at a passage like this, and we're being coached by Paul, that if our hope is with Christ, if we have committed by faith to this understanding that we're going to live forever, that we need to set our minds and our hearts on things above. So I want to encourage you today, get out a little piece of paper or a 3x5 card, write out this verse and carry it around in your pocket and look at it from time to time, or memorize it. It is it's a money verse, Colossians 3, 1 through 4. Have a good day.